Hey, hey, Nikki Giovanni. His name is Malcolm. It's on page 59 of her book if you want to check it out. First, we hear the drums. There are all kinds of drums. The drums are beating. The drums are being beaten with sticks and hands. There is an incessant rhythm. There is nothing on screen, but we hear the drumming. The screens lightens up Harlem 1920. We see the feet run down heels of men's shoes, polished but obviously worn, well worn. A woman's foot comes out of medium heels. She rubs it as if her corns hurt. We see the white shoes of nurses, the flat shoes of the young women. Then we move the camera up just a little bit and we see an ocean of cuffs, neat, clean, pressed, and we pan up to the hems of skirts and dresses of the women. The camera moves into the sky, a beautiful shot of the skyline of New York looking down Central Park across the skyscrapers. We pan back to the tops of the buildings of Harlem. People are sitting out, men in shirts, sleeves, or undershirts, women dressed like housewives, children happy and excited by the upcoming parade. Maybe some birds flutter by, a pigeon or so. And then we move to a great, colorful plumage. Feathers are everywhere. The plumage is flung up, and we recognize the headdress of Marcus Garvey. Garvey steps slowly to the front of the gathered people. His flag bearers hoist the red, black, and green. Garvey looks to his left, then to his right. The drum major high steps, blowing his whistle. He turns, and the parade begins. The camera is now at face level. We see hundreds, no thousands of faces marching with Garvey. As the parade goes down 7th Avenue, passing known Harlem landmarks, the background dissolves to Chicago, then to the Cincinnati train station, showing soldiers and civilians disembarking from the trains, coming upstairs, passing a sign that says, Gateway to the South. The drums are still insisting while we hear the feet in the parade cadence, but we now see rural America. People standing in fields looking north as if they hear something. We change backgrounds again and we see Jamaica, and people are looking north. Garvey's voice is now being heard. The red, black, and green with the lone black stars oversized. The camera pans down on Garvey, explaining the meaning of the flag. The crowd is animated, clapping, assenting to Garvey's words. Africa for Africans, at home and abroad. Garvey proclaims, and the crowd cheers and cheers and cheers. Africa for Africans, Africa for Africans. I remember when I used to do this on a daily basis. Love Marcus Garvey. In our home office overlooking the parade, two men are watching from the window. They are black. One is Du Bois, the other is James Weldon Johnson, type figure. Older than Du Bois and less agitated about the parade. The man is dangerous, said Du Bois. All of our efforts to gain manhood rights are going up in smoke. Oh, William, I've been all over the world. Even when even you were just last year in Paris with your own Pan-African Congress. People want something of their own. But this is our own, Du Bois insists. We are Americans. We have got to make our stand here. But the lynchings, the burnings, the people just can't take much more. We've got to have something to offer them. I agree, says Du Bois. But this Garvey is bad as Booker T. Why would we voluntarily segregate ourselves? That's half the problem. We need to work to show that we are good citizens, that we do have a valid culture, that we are men. That too, in good time. But the Johnson figure looks back out the window. That Garvey really can rouse a crowd, can he? He really has the people. Du Bois frowns. He's in the way. We will never be free with that nihilistic philosophy. He's a danger to our freedom. Now the camera moves into a big office. A pug-looking office in shirt sleeves is asking for the latest figures on the parade. I wish we could send these jigaboos back to Africa. The J. Edgar Hoover figure says to no one in particular. Garvey has over 1 million colors in this so-called Back to Africa movement. He needs to be stopped. The good color folks don't like it, and neither does the president. Hoover looks up to the 3 or 4 G men standing around. He has to be stopped. End of the scene. Swirling snow is blowing. The streets have few people on them, and they are moving quickly. Detroit, 1930. The camera pans Depression Detroit, coming to rest in a small, indistinct room where a voice is saying, "We must carry on the great work. I have been sent to the lost found nation of Islam in North America. I cannot stay long, but I am anointing you to be my worldly representative." The camera comes full face with Elijah Muhammad. "Robert Poole," the voice commands, "are you ready to forsake your former life, your former associates, your earthly family, your name, and follow me?" "I am," he replies. "I now greet you, Elijah Muhammad. You must carry my word forward." We then see Elijah Muhammad meeting with a small group of men in a home. We see Spring and Muhammad is standing, talking to a larger group. We see the white heat of summer, and Elijah is going into jail, talking with the men. When the color of autumn, when the color of autumn comes, Elijah has gathered a crew of men who are calling him messenger. End of scene. We are now in the kitchen of a worker. The man is eating, the woman is serving him. There are many children around. The man is saying, "Louise, I know they think because they deported Mr. Garvey we will be silent." "Well, Louise, I've been silent too long. I know I have to take Mr. Garvey's message to the black man. Did you hear about that lynching last week? It just won't stop until we stop it." The woman is tending to the children and trying to eat. She is loving but worried. "Earl, what about us? We've been burned out of our place. They won't quit until they kill you. Please think about the children." "Louise, what kind of life will they have if I'm not a man? What kind of life will they lead if I can't stand up?" Next, we see Louise and 7 youngsters huddled in a broken down house. Louise has obviously left them for a better world. The children are trying to care for her, but it is obvious that they are not capable. A social worker comes gently and herds the children away. The younger ones are crying. The middle boys look defiant. He is the last to leave this rundown shack. He pulls the door closed, and there is a loud slam. When you hear another slam, we then hear another slam, and Elijah is seen coming out of prison. Elijah looks back, and we hear the third slam. Malcolm Little is behind bars. End of scene. It is visiting day in the Charleston prison. Malcolm Little is being visited by his brother Roger and his sister Ella. Roger gives indication of being mentally delicate, as was his mother. But he is excited about what he has learned. He and Ella are telling Malcolm about the true religion for black people. "Right, Mr. Muhammad, Malcolm. Do this for me. I know I won't be with you long. I have dreams like Mama used to. I've been crying in my sleep. I know I feel like I've done my work if I can get you to know about this man. I know I'll feel like I've done my work if I can get you to know about this man." Mr. Muhammad offers us a way out. He was in jail himself for refusing the draft. He won't let the devils tell him anything. "You need to know about this." Malcolm looks at his sister, who is nodding her head yes. "Roger is right. We found a piece I didn't know existed. After that thing with Daddy and Mama, well, Mama couldn't take any more. I never thought I'd have a family again. But the nation has given me a family and wants us to come to you. Do it for the family, Malcolm. You remember how Daddy was always talking about Garvey and nation building. This man, Mr. Muhammad, is building what Daddy wanted. Look into it, Malcolm." A prison guard walks by. The 3 look up. Roger says, "Everybody who's not dead is in prison. These books will help you come back to us, Malcolm. Take the books." Malcolm takes the books and kisses his brother and sister goodbye. End of scene. Now we see Malcolm walking out. We see him in the yard, walking with a book in his hand. We see him in his cell reading. We see him in the library copying words. He receives a letter with a Chicago postmark. Malcolm opens the letter, and dirty, much used $5 bill falls out. Malcolm reaches for the bill. He is touched, pleased, and smiling. It is insulting to the black community that we have to sit through almost an hour of gibberish to get to what Spike Lee has promised, Malcolm X. The only excuse for opening the movie has to be one, to pad it out to epic length, and two, to get Spike Lee's face on the screen. Perhaps some Americans aren't interested in the history of black nationalism. Perhaps even some Americans think Malcolm X has to be entertaining in order to be a successful movie. But others of the black community have kept Malcolm X alive for all these 27 years, not before we envision him dancing at the Savon or kissing some white woman or robbing someone's home. There are thousands of people who do that and more every day, and we do not remember or honor them. We have kept Malcolm X alive in our hearts and our culture because he embodies our dreams of transformation and redemption. The story is strong enough to be told straight. Malcolm X had to be a dream of Elijah Muhammad's. Elijah was the brain of the nation, but Malcolm X was the voice. When the two men first met, Lee has Malcolm crying, but I can't accept that. As a Christian, if I met Christ, I would probably cry, and he would probably touch me. Then I would ask, Lord, what would you have me do? Elijah had to have charged Malcolm with the task. Malcolm needs to be shown performing it. There would be no task too humble for him. Cleaning the temple, serving a small band around Elijah, listening, learning, he would have to earn Mr. Muhammad's trust. Then Muhammad would have sent him out with a trusted minister. Again, Malcolm would have performed honorably. We need the scene where Elijah Muhammad calls Malcolm into his study and asks the others to lead. Muhammad tells Malcolm his dream for black people. He talks about his life in Georgia, about meeting Wallace Ford and how he was converted. He tells Malcolm about his own limitations, what with his asthma preventing him from being a great speaker, maybe even laughing about his height. He tells Malcolm how together they can build a nation. Together they can galvanize the masses just as Garvey did. He asked Malcolm if he will follow him. Malcolm, like the knights of old, pledges his life and honor to Elijah. Read for yourself. It's so refreshing. And it's just a smart way to live. All right? Check out Nikki Giovanni. I'm doing that. You do it too.